Do you think last night was the Spurs issue defensively, or do they have issues scoring the basketball? Because the reason why I'm asking, there's going to be adjustments in game two. I think you'll see Wembanyama guard Josh Hart more. You may see Castle guard Karl Anthony Towns, so on and so forth. But do you think the issue for the Spurs in game one was it more on the offensive end or the defensive end?
Well, Dwight, I think it was almost totally on the offensive end. I think their defense was pretty good. I mean, evidenced by the score of the game. I really thought the only thing that New York really did great offensively, and it was key to the game, is they took care of the ball. I only had 8 turnovers. I thought that was key. But look, until the fourth quarter, I thought they did a tremendous job on Brunson. I think I would keep matchups the same. I thought the only problem is I thought that Wimby was overzealous
Mhm.
against Karl Anthony Towns. Like, I understand you want to pressure Towns because of his passing has become such a big weapon, but at 7'4", he doesn't need to try to body up and reach at the ball. Towns was going right by him at the drive. On the drive, he can just settle in, play normal distance, and his length alone will take the passing away and give him a better chance to contain. I thought Towns was tremendous at both ends of the floor. I think Wimby can play him better. And a couple of times late in that game, when they went to playing Wimby on Hart and a couple of times on Anunoby even, and then smaller on Towns, Towns just hurt them on the glass. So look, they're always going to switch and try to leave Wimby down on the baseline as much as he can, but they need help on the glass. They gave up 23 second chance points last night. I think their defensive game plan was very, very good. And if they can come close to duplicating that, they're fine then. I think that their adjustments, San Antonio, need to come at the offensive end of the floor. And look, if you're San Antonio, I mean, you get, hats off to the Knicks. 12 straight playoff wins. That's incredible. And 7 of them on the road, even more incredible. But if I'm San Antonio, I'm saying we didn't shoot well. Our best player played very poorly. I thought it was the worst playoff game that Wembanyama played throughout the entire playoffs. And with a minute and 15 seconds to go, we're down 2. So
Mhm.
I don't think there's any need to panic. I think there's adjustments to be made, but I don't think there's any reason to panic for San Antonio. But offensively, they're going to have to find some answers.
Also, Coach, listen, I posted something on social media last night. Sometimes, and listen, I've already have given Victor Wembanyama the best player in the world honors already. But my frustrations with him, and I understand, he's young, he's 22 years old, he's 7'5", he's not the most sturdy or strongest player out there. But my issue with him is that he tends to play more like a 6'5" player than a 7'5" player. I understand this is the worst that we're going to see of Victor Wembanyama, and there's still growth in terms of his offensive repertoire. But do you think he should at least give it a try in terms of playing more mid to low post rather than hanging around the 3-point line as often as he does?
Yeah, look, I didn't like his offensive game last night at all. And I think a lot of it was where he caught the ball to initiate his offense. He was always behind the 3-point line. And look, a couple of things that happened there. I think, first of all, Towns, Mitchell Robinson, those guys have got now, better chance of cushioning him and and then being able to stop the drive. Also easier for help to get to him, which was a big part of him having 6 turnovers. I thought his shot selection was poor. Um, I thought it was one of the best defensive games I've seen Towns have. I thought Towns, when he was in Minnesota, had a great series against Jokic, a couple of years back. I thought he did a great job. What I liked last night with Towns is it's as disciplined as I've ever seen him. He stayed out of foul trouble. He had the one reach down for his third foul, but other than that, he did a good job. Here's the challenge, though. When a guy's going 6 for 21, it's pretty easy to stay disciplined and stay with the game plan because he's missing. Will Karl Anthony Towns stay disciplined when Wembanyama hits 3 in a row, which he's going to do at some point? Will he stay down on shot fakes? I think with Wembanyama, real key is don't overreact to the threes. He's a mediocre three-point shooter. He can certainly get it going, but when you start raising up on shot fakes out there, then you're going to be in trouble. He's going to beat you to the rim. I think he's got to get catches in that elbow area, to me, even more than the post where it's possible to help. You get the ball at the elbow area there, a guy like him, easy one dribble to the rim. He can shoot the jumper there. And they really work hard with him on holding his position and getting the ball there, but he just didn't get many catches there. And I think if he's going to be behind the three-point line all day, if I'm New York, I'm happy as heck with that, even if he makes some. 7'4" behind the three-point line, yep, I'm living with that. He did not have an offensive rebound until the fourth quarter last night. All 3 of his offensive rebounds were in the fourth. I think that, he's got to be from 15, 17 feet in 75% of the time tomorrow night, or if they're going to improve their offense. I think it's a big part of the adjustments they need to make.
The Diet Coke. I got a little Diet Mountain Dew over here.
There you
Coach.
go. You need the caffeine, baby.
Yes, and not the sugar. Coach, tell him and not the sugar.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Need the caffeine, and I'm not a coffee drinker, so
me either.
That's been my drink of choice forever. So,
Stan, I remember watching you coach back in the day, and you had the Diet Coke can under the chair that you didn't sit in a whole lot because you were up and stalking the sidelines and yelling at referees. But I always remember the Diet Coke can under your chair, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the referees, it's one thing that hasn't come up a lot, but like you guys, I watch every night. I thought last night was the best officiated game of the NBA playoffs in 2026.
I'll agree with that.
I thought that crew was outstanding. I mean, I think for any of us watching, there were not times where you're like, whoa, they missed one there, or what was that call? I thought they were consistent and right on top of it. It's hard. I think it would be very difficult for any crew to do a better job than those guys did last night. And look, to me, that really adds to the enjoyment of the game. I mean,
totally.
There's 3 teams. The great Brendan Malone would always say there's 3 teams on the court every night, the 2 teams and the referees. And all 3 of those teams have an impact on the outcome of the game. And I think the referees even more, have an impact on the quality of play and the enjoyment we all get watching it. I thought that Scott Foster, James Capers, Sean Wright were all just outstanding last night. And I'm not one who spends a lot of time praising the referees, but last night I really noticed. I thought it was a great game by the officials.
Well done, Coach. Well done. I want to bring in now the owner of the Gotham City Bockers in the TBT, the insufferable Dr. X. Go ahead, Doc.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for coming on the show. And also, excuse the glasses. This is my little alter ego, insufferable Knick fan. I have to wear some Knick gear. Gotta have the glasses on for the whole time. But I'm curious to know, what was your pick for this finals prior to Game 1, and has anything changed now?
I actually, I don't think I've said anything publicly, but I would have picked San Antonio. I would have said San Antonio in 5, but hope very much that it would go 7. I think if I had to go now, I'd say San Antonio in 7. But look, I mean, until they burst the Knicks bubble, I mean, the Knicks are playing at a level that no one else has matched. I thought that the problem with the Knicks would be they would have to take such a big step up in level of play because they had a pretty easy run. Atlanta was the best team they played in the Eastern Conference playoffs. I mean, Philly, not a real good team. Cleveland was just non-competitive after the big comeback in game 1 of that series. It was like they were shattered, and I thought the Knicks would have to take a big jump up in level, and they did, and they did it successfully. I'll say one thing. This Knicks team is resilient beyond belief, and about mid to late January, when they really got their defense together and became an elite defensive team, like that's why I think last night you look at the game, like I said to Dwight earlier, I didn't think the Knicks offense wasn't what it's been through most of the playoffs. Through most of the playoffs, it's been unbelievable. Last night they struggled at the offensive end, but their defense is so good. And I give a lot of credit to that to Karl Anthony Towns, his improvement at the defensive end of the floor, not just last night, but over the last months of this season. That guy, in my mind, as how I view him, has gone from a great offensive talent to really playing high level winning basketball. He hasn't cared at all about numbers or shot attempts or anything else. He's one of the great rebounders in the league, always has been. He's taken, pride in his playmaking, and he's gotten a lot better defensively. That Knicks team, they can beat you offensively and defensively. I hope for all of our fans' sakes, maybe not you as a Knicks fans, but maybe the rest of us who are a little more nonpartisan. I'm really rooting for it to go 7 games because I want to see as many minutes of this as I can.
Agreed.
I appreciate your answer, Coach. Respect.
I love it. All right, Coach Chaz, come on in here.
Oh, hi, Coach Gundy. It's a pleasure to be on here with you. My question obviously is from a coaching perspective. We talked about it on the show earlier with Coach Mitch Johnson subbing De'Aaron Fox back in and benching pretty much Dylan Harper for the rest of the fourth quarter. And I've learned from a lot of the pro coaches, NBA, WNBA, it's a big challenge with having your vet, your max guy out there, and then you have a rookie or a younger player that's playing really great. And so with that decision, what are your thoughts about it? What is your opinion? Should Dylan Harper have stayed in the game, or do you start De'Aaron Fox game 2? And how challenging is that for you as a head coach? How do you balance that?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. Listen, I would not start him. To me, too late in the year, it would almost be. I think your locker room would look at it as a panic
Agreed.
move, like that
100%.
we need major changes to compete. Plus, I think no matter who you start and bring off the bench, bottom line is you need both of them to play really well. De'Aaron Fox hasn't come off the bench. Dylan Harper has all year. He's comfortable in the role. I was surprised he only got 3.5 minutes in the fourth quarter. And I don't think it necessarily has to be one or the other. I mean, they have at times played Castle, Harper, and Fox together. That's another possibility if Devin Vassell doesn't have it going. Those guards, I mean, Harper and Castle are big enough and strong enough, but I do think Dylan Harper has to get more minutes. To me, the 2 other changes or adjustments I would look at, and look, there's no bigger Mitch Johnson fan than I am. He was my vote for Coach of the Year in the NBA. What he's done with that team is incredible. But the 2 other things I would think about if I was San Antonio is I would think about cutting my rotation down to 8 guys. I don't think he needs Harrison Barnes and Carter Bryant. Even though they've had decent minutes at times in the playoffs, those minutes could go to Keldon Johnson and to Dylan Harper. And I think this is one, I know it's tough because Wembanyama has been very effective the way they've rotated him. He comes out 5 or 6 minutes into the game and comes back. But if you look at last night, especially until the fourth quarter, where Brunson really struggled was when he was on the floor and Wemby was on the floor. And the reason is he knew and everyone knew he wasn't going to be able to get to the rim and score. And so everything became a jump shot contested by bigger guys. If you remember when he got it going in the second quarter, it was when Wemby was on the bench, Cornette was in, and he was getting to the rim. I would try as much as possible to match Wemby's minutes with Brunson and not give Brunson minutes against a non-Wemby lineup. Now, that's not easy because Brunson's used to playing in long stretches more than Wemby is, and it's a little easier for a guy at 6'2" than it is for a guy at 7'4". So I get that, but as much as possible, I think that's something they should look at is matching those minutes.
Love it.
All right, Ashley Neville, Coach Stan Van Gundy is here. What you got for him?
Hey, Stan. Good to have you here. We're so excited to have you on. So you've built an offense around Dwight Howard ahead of its time where there were shooters everywhere. If you had Wembanyama today, how would you build your team around him?
You know what? Look, Ashley, I think, and I'll admit to a little bit of a bias here because the general manager, Brian Wright, worked with me in Orlando and for me in Detroit. Adam Glessner, who's one of the most knowledgeable, unknown to fans person who's an assistant GM there, great talent evaluator. They're the two guys in San Antonio. I don't think you could put together a team better than that. Certainly, Wemby fell in your lap. You get lucky, you get the number one pick. But the team around him, even like Castle, everybody's like, oh, anybody would have taken Castle. He was a number 4 pick. Risa Shea, Sarr, and Reed Shepherd went ahead of Stephon Castle. So, let's not make it like it was an obvious pick. Dylan Harper, VJ Edscombe, Con Knipple, like none of those were not obvious picks. Julian Champagnie, who is a perfect fit for their team, was a free agent who had been waived by Philadelphia in 2023. They pick him up. Luke Cornett, an outstanding free agent signing. Everything there really fits. And all of those guys, other than Keldon Johnson, have come since Brian Wright took over as the GM. And so I guess my answer, Ashley, is I would hope I wouldn't do it any differently than they've done it, but they did a lot better job as front office people than I did when I had my shot at it. So I would just follow in their footsteps. They've done a great job. And on the other side, too, because he just stays out of the spotlight, both of these front offices do. Leon Rose has done an incredible job in New York, too. Look, not one of those starters did Leon Rose inherit when he took over the team. He brought Brunson in as a free agent and traded for the other 4 starters. He made the decision to bring Landry Shamet back and get him in there. I think he inherited McBride and Mitchell Robinson, but the key guys there were all his. These 2 front offices have done a great job, and I think if you look at the rosters now, that's 2 of the best 4 roster constructions in the league. Brad Stevens has done a fabulous job in Boston. Sam Presti's done a fabulous job in OKC, but these 2 teams are as good as anybody. But yes, San Antonio, I don't know that you could build a better roster around Wemby, and I think everyone's scared going forward, quite honestly. I mean, their 3 best players, in my opinion, their 3 best players are Castle, Harper, and Wembanyama, obviously not in that order, and they're all 22 or younger. Um, I
That
I don't
is
know what
correct.
chance anybody has got over the next 8 to 10 years, because I think you can count on them doing what they have to do to keep those three guys together. Obviously, as other guys earn more money, you might have to readjust, but great front office, great roster, and you better beat them now, because I think for the next half dozen years at least, it's going to be OKC and San Antonio battling it out, and whoever comes out of the East is going to have to figure out how to beat one of those teams, and it ain't going to get easier. It's going to get harder.
Thank you. Wait, Rick,
The
do you care if
greats.
I piggyback off that real quick?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead. Yeah.
Is that all good? I was also wondering, because you did mention those specific teams that just somewhat always know how to construct rosters, and build an identity. What goes into doing that? Is there like one characteristic that you look for in each player that kind of fits the mold of what you want in a player? It could be your big, it could be your guard. Is there maybe like one characteristic that stands out to you the most when you're trying to construct the perfect roster?
That's a great question, Ashley. And I think it starts with, you've got to get the guy to build around to begin with. And that guy can take a lot of forms. Obviously, with New York, you've got, a small guard, okay? And he's your star. And I don't think it's coincidental with New York. He was the first guy in that starting lineup that they got. Everybody came after him. You get the guy you think's your star, and then you've got to put the people around him that complement him the best. And it's not just a matter of getting the most talented guys you can get. Their skill set has got to fit, and then they've got to have the mentality to fit too. Wimbenyama wasn't the first guy they got in that group, but he came before Castle, Harper, Fox, Champagny. So he was the first guy in their starting. Well, no, Vassell was there in their starting lineup. And when you get a guy like Wimbenyama, people are going to want to load up on him. You've got to have shooting and guys who can score the ball anywhere. And here's the thing, I think, with San Antonio, which is why I say you better get them now. Castle and Harper are both improving as shooters. They have throughout the year. Castle from year to year. Those guys, in addition to what they can already do with the ball and get in the paint, what they do at both ends of the floor, those guys are going to be very good 3-point shooters. It's going to be hard to find answers to that team. But I would just say, whoever your star is, you've got to compliment him. Like, okay, with LA, they get Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic needed and wanted to have centers who were lob threats. He wanted vertical threats on the lob to play in his pick and roll game. And so, as much as he's been criticized, I thought DeAndre Ayton was a great fit there for the Lakers. But it all starts with that guy. And some of it's also weaknesses. Are we going to be able to cover for whatever weaknesses that guy has, usually at the defensive end? Wimby's a whole nother animal in that he's even better at the defensive end than the offensive end. So he's covering for everybody else, not the other way around. But in most cases, you're going to have to cover for that star a little bit. I also think the best front offices, and I think you've certainly seen it with those teams that I mentioned, including Oklahoma City and Boston. I think they have put a real premium on character and attitude, and guys who are more into the team than they are into themselves and their numbers and everything else. I think that is something that they have, and they really haven't sacrificed to maybe take a little more talented guy. Like, if you look at San Antonio, could they have found a more talented guy than Julian Champagny? Yeah, probably. But his shooting fits them, and he's become an offensive rebounder, running balls down. He's not a guy like He's not going to be complaining on nights he doesn't get shots. He's a complimentary guy. He gets it. You have to have those type of people, even as veterans. Harrison Barnes, I think one of the great stories of this year for San Antonio is this guy's been a starter his entire career, and he plays 82 games every single year. And for Mitch Johnson, a first-year head coach, something really impressed me about Mitch, to go to him and say, hey, we're going to move you to the bench, for Harrison Barnes to be able to do that, and for Mitch Johnson to have the guts to do that. Tremendous story. And his minutes continue to decline in the playoffs. And yet you look at their bench and you watch Harrison Barnes talking to guys and you watch the togetherness on the bench. And if you're one of those young guys that's figuring out your route in the NBA, whether it's Dylan Harper or Carter Bryant or whoever, you're looking at this guy and say, this guy won a championship with Golden State. He's been his starter his whole career. I see what his attitude is. That's who I'm supposed to be. I think it really pays off for your team. And I think those teams have built rosters around those kind of people with that kind of character.